In a fast hour around the world of sports and how I see it. And we begin with the return of Brooklyn's finest. Kevin Durant is expected to return tonight against the Heat after missing a month and a half because of a sprained MCL. KD hadn't played since January 15th. His Nets went 5-16 in his absence. Here's KD.
I don't look at myself as that, as a savior, but I know what I can do and how much I can help this team and what we're missing as a group. But I'm not trying to go out there and win the game by myself tonight or make it all about me. I just try to go out there and help and be a good teammate and do what I do. I know what I bring to the table and, try to do it to the best of my abilities.
Nets reporter Nick Friedel was at shoot-around right across the river this morning and joins me now. Nick, I hear KD. He's a hooper, right? He'd make any team in the history of basketball better. He doesn't need the ball. He does everything right. He can score like crazy, whether he's the focal point or not. So I hear what he's saying. What have you observed about the attitude about his return and the whole savior thing around the team?
That's all they feel like, Max. His teammates know how good he is, and they know when he's on the floor, everything changes, and they're going to be that much better. And for all the optimism that had been let out of the balloon the other day when they heard the mayor's comments about Kyrie, the fact that Kevin is now back and he's feeling like himself and he knows he can go on the floor and dominate makes everybody in that building and on that floor tonight know, okay, we're ready to start the push going into the last 6 weeks of the regular season.
Yeah, as great as Embiid has been and Jokic and there are lots of great players in the league. But I think over the last year or so, there is a consensus that the torch has been passed as best player in the world from LeBron to KD when he's on the floor. But how much will he be on the floor? Is he on a minutes restriction first game back?
Not really. They're going to talk to him the whole night, but they're going to let him set the tone. And they know that he wants to play 30, 35 minutes somewhere in there. Of course, they're going to be more cautious because he hadn't played in a month and a half. But Max, you know this just as well as I do. Kevin Durant sets the tone for everything in that organization. If KD wants to be on the floor and play a little more tonight, that's what he's going to do, and that's what they're expecting.
Yes, sir, Mr. Durant. How many minutes would you like to play?
Exactly.
When can we expect to see Ben Simmons back? Because I felt like ain't no way he's playing in Philly, right? And that tells you something about how at least many basketball fans think about Simmons now. And then as soon as that game's over, his back will be magically healed. What do you know about it?
The issue is a little more serious, I think, than they thought. I watched him in Milwaukee on Saturday night. He's walking around in one of those contraptions that's getting some stim in the back. I think he's a couple more weeks away at least. And I know there was a lot of focus on that Philly game, and everybody thought, okay, well, let's just rip the Band-Aid off and see how it goes. Now that that's kind of gone and not a possibility, they're going to be really, really cautious because they're not just hoping that he comes back this year and plays well. They're hoping that they have him in the right mind space of what's going on, and I think that was crucial this morning. KD said, I haven't been able to work with him a lot because he's still doing a lot of individual work, hadn't been cleared for practice, but Max, he said, this seems like a really happy guy. He seems like he's in a good place. Drummond said the same thing the other day. So they know that Simmons is feeling good, and they know when he gets healthy, he'll be in the right space to play really well again quickly.
When Simmons is right, he's one of the most spectacular shows in sports and a great two-way player, except he doesn't shoot. But even without the shooting, he's an amazing player. Hopefully he is right. Thank you, Nick. The Nets, who, by the way, were preseason favorites to win the title, are 9 games back of the Miami Heat for the 1 seed in the East. They are currently 8th and are currently given a 91% chance to be part of the play-in tournament per NBA BPI. Yeah, listen, if the Nets are healthy, they're going to be just fine. Joined now by the one and only Kendrick Perkins. Perk, first of all, don't start this show by scowling at me. I want to see a big smile when you come on this show. There we go. Mean mugging me off the top of the show. Perk, how does the role change post Harden-Simmons trade?
Well, for Kevin Durant, he's going to go back to that point forward position, the role that he was playing when James Harden and Kyrie Irving wasn't playing when he was going on that tear for the Brooklyn Nets. And he's going to have to be a guy not only to get buckets, but facilitate and make plays for others. But here's the thing, Max, I'm a little bit concerned for the simple fact that in his interview, KD said it's still soreness there. So that goes to show me that it's almost to the point where he has to play because of the situation that the Brooklyn Nets is in. So, it's going to be interesting to see what type of KD we get out.
That is persuasive analysis. It does. That connect the dots. That's right, Perk. By the way, Simmons created, I keep talking about it, more open looks from three than any player since he entered the league, right? So when you look at the shooters on the Nets, couldn't he run? You say he could play point forward, but Simmons could just play point guard or whatever you want to call it, right? With KD and Kyrie and eventually Joe Harris and Seth Curry. They could do that too, right, Perk?
Yeah, they can, but when is Ben Simmons going to play, Max? That's the question. Like we talk about the importance of this part of the season. It's 20 games or less, and we still haven't seen Ben Simmons play in 7 months. And so you still have to not only worry about his confidence, but you have to worry about the workload on his legs and get back into NBA form, because you can work out as much as you want individually, but nothing gets you in basketball shape like playing basketball. And so the game is faster, the speed is faster, so all those things matter. When are we going to see them? That's what I got to ask you, Max.
Right. Okay, so do you think, given the information you have now, given the mandates are still there with Kyrie going to play half the games at this moment, given what you just said about Simmons and KD, will they have enough time in your estimation today, at this moment? Do you think they have enough time to get it together before the playoffs?
No, they don't. No, they don't. And they better be lucky if they get into the playoffs. And I say that to say this. When you look at what's going on for us, the play-in tournament, Max, we saw last year when Memphis shocked the world and beat the Golden State Warriors to get in. It could be one of those nights. And when you're dealing with a team like the Atlanta Hawks that have a electrifying superstar caliber player in Trae Young that could light you up for 50 and take control of a game, you got to be worried. When you're looking at the Charlotte Hornets, who are also right now in the play-in tournament, all those electrifying players from LaMelo Ball to Miles Bridges to if Gordon Hayward gets back, the additional Montrezl Harrell. Like, if you look at that situation just itself, I mean, the Brooklyn Nets, they're right in the middle of the fire, just like the Los Angeles Lakers are right now. They better hope to get into the playoffs. We talking about getting into the playoffs and making noise.
Perk spitting hot fire as always, even though the look on the face can be friendlier sometimes. Thank you, Big Perk. And gradually progressed to full weight-bearing exercises. He still remains out indefinitely. Kendrick Perkins with me. Perk, have any idea when we'll see Zion?
Not this season, Max. I think he should wait it out, man, because we still haven't seen how he looked. Although we hearing that he's showing signs of improvement, but we got to see how he's looking. But being in shape really matters when it comes down to Zion Williamson.
All right, now to the new dynamic duo in Philadelphia. James Harden and Joel Embiid continue to look very good, very comfortable playing basketball with each other, beating the Knicks in Harden's debut in front of the Philly crowd. Perk, what will we learn from the Sixers after their next stretch of tough games? They're finally going to play some contenders. What are we going to learn?
What we're going to learn is how will they overcome adversity. I want to see when it matters the most, when it gets into the fourth quarter and it's crunch time and it's a possession-by-possession game, I want to see how are they going to work the two-man game or how they're going to implement and put in Tyrese Maxey. Look, Max, we already have seen a great sample size in these 3 games, and I know people want to say they played against the Knicks, but the fact of the matter is these two are the best duo in the NBA. But I want to see, when it get late in the fourth quarter, how those two guys are going to operate off of one another. Who's going to touch the ball? They're going to find the mismatch, or they're going to be able to take it home, and how they're going to do it. So that's what I'm ready to see out of those two. But as far as them, what they just showed us thus far, Max, you could agree with this because you always said a guard, an elite guard, and an elite big is must-see and must-see TV. And we haven't saw this since Kobe and Shaq. Not
Yeah,
this
you're
type
right.
of duo.
And the difference is these guys, including Embiid, can score from all three levels. Like, it's nuts. Why has Tyrese Maxey, you mentioned Maxey, and he's looked great. Why has he benefited from the Harden trade, but Tobias Harris hasn't?
Well, Max, what we have to realize is that before the Harden trade, Tyrese Maxey actually has been the second best player on the Philadelphia 76ers. Look, I understand a lot of teams and, the draft passed up on him a few years ago, like the Knicks. But at the end of the day, look, Tyrese Maxey has been a young stud, and now he's been able to open up. And so with so much attention that James Harden demands, Tyrese Maxey is now getting those wide open looks, and now he's getting guarded by the third or fourth best defender on the other team, which we all know is not that great.
Yeah, let me just say something to people who thought that Daryl Morey got fleeced somehow in that trade. He traded Ben Simmons, not just for anyone, for James Harden and Perk. He held on to Maxey and Thibault. That's amazing what he just did.
Hey, Max, not only are you dressed like a pastor today, but you are actually preaching the gospel for once.
Preach. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Big Perk. Because it is time for a little Perk and Jerk. We like our wings spicy here on This Just In. So, Perk, who had a spicy performance last night in the association?
Donovan Mitchell at the point guard position. Forget the 35-piece wing dinner that he put up for as the points. I'm looking at the 10 biscuits he dished out, making guys around him better. If the Utah Jazz are going to take any type of leap, it's going to be on the back of Donovan Mitchell and his facilitating for others.
A little gravy on those biscuits, Perk. That was pretty spicy. But what about the ending to the Heat and Bucks game?
It just shows the depth. But look here, money-making Middleton. I thought the Milwaukee Bucks did a great job of rallying back the big three. They did it collectively, but on the backs of Giannis, Drew Holiday, and Chris Middleton. But I'm here to tell you, Max, I was more impressed with the Miami Heat going into the arena, battling them out without Kyle Lowry. This will be an interesting series if it happens.
All right, Perk. Despite the loss last night against the Bucks, you're still high on the Heat to come out of the East. You like the Heat to come out of the East. I don't see a player there like a five-star MVP caliber, Giannis or Embiid or Harden or KD on that team. Why the Heat?
Well, first of all, Max, you got your facts wrong. I got the Heat as my dark horse to win it all. I actually got Philly as my favorite, but I'm going to tell you this. Let me tell you about the Heat, though. This is why they're my dark horse contender. For the simple fact, they probably have the best starting five defensively in the NBA. And the way that Tyler Hero has been playing off the bench, he's going to win Sixth Man of the Year. He's a walking bucket. And they have the best coach in basketball, in my opinion, in Eric Spoelstra. When you talk about game planning, in-game adjustments, I mean, it's only a handful of coaches that are right there at the elite level, and I got Eric Spoelstra as the best.
You know who my dark horse is, Perk, by the way? If they come back healthy, if Lonzo and Patrick Williams come back healthy and they get back Caruso, that Bulls team fits together real nice. Perk, I know you were on it too. When you and I were both talking about the Suns 2 years ago, what they did in the offseason, and they went to the finals. The Bulls kind of did the same thing in the offseason. Those pieces fit together pretty well. They just got to get it back healthy.
They do. But that's the thing, Max. You know that. In order to win a championship, you got to be healthy.